Of the MiG-15 on the roll, a two-seat variant, the MiG-15 UTI. In fact, this is a Polish license-produced version, the SB Lim 2. One of the earliest generation of swept-wing jet fighters, and a design that, as we'll be describing later, borrowed much from captured wartime German, former Swiss Air Force examples. Here they go then, rolling individually. That's the two-seat Vampire first, the T-55. Followed by the single-seat FB-6 fighter-bomber version. Very different design to the MiG, straight-winged, twin-boom tail. So they're off to display at Southport. They'll be landing at Blackpool Airport for a quick break and a quick... Pioneered the jet fighter concept in swept-wing terms, but there was British influence in the engine. The Soviets had access also to German engine technology, but they chose instead to go for the rather more proven Rolls-Royce Neen. And rather to the surprise of many, they were supplied with the technology for that engine. A unit was shipped over to the Soviet Union. It was produced as the Klimov RD-45. Land speeds and heavy cannon armament were both features of the design. It flew not long after its great adversary in the Korean War, the North American F-86, and from the outset the MiG-15 could exceed speeds of 1,000 kilometers an hour, about 650 miles an hour, at 3,000 meters or 9,800 feet. The Soviets had the Tupolev Tu-4. The MiG-15 could also be used as a fighter bomber itself. The type first went to war in 1950, towards the end of the Chinese Civil War, in which Chinese communists were receiving Soviet assistance in their fight against nationalist forces. A single division of MiG-15s was deployed, and one of them scored the aircraft's first aerial victory against what you might think was a rather unlikely opponent, the Lockheed P-38 Lightning of the Chinese nationalists. The first MiG-15 combat victory was in November 1950 against an F-51 Mustang of the US Air Force, and the very same day came the first ever jet versus jet kill, a MiG-15 downing an F-80C Shooting Star of the US Air Force. F-86 Sabres were sent into the theatre as a rapid response, and they soon found UN to suspend daylight attacks by US Air Force B-29 Super Fortresses in favour of night missions. But at lower levels, the Sabre had the edge, and the greater experience of American pilots began to win the day, especially when later model Sabres became available. And through the rest of the Cold War, aircraft like this had occasional confrontations with Western aeroplanes around the fringes of the Soviet Union and crew. The following year, the Royal Air Force Avro Lincoln engaged in a training sortie in one of the air corridors between West Germany and Berlin. Was shot down by MiG-15s, the Lincoln incidentally flown by a near namesake of mine, one Flight Sergeant Peter Donnell. Two-seaters were built under license in China by the Shenyang company. If it had, look out now once again to your right, the distinctive twin-boom shape of the two de Havilland Vampires of the Norwegian Air Force Historical Squadron running in. pre-Cold War adversaries too enthusiastic about British aeroplanes, owing to their earlier Spitfire experience, not least. And the Vampire was the second Allied operational jet fighter, following on from the earlier Gloucester Meteor. It was too late to see World War II service, but it achieved many notable feats in the early post-war years. And of those, one of the most famous involves the late, or legendary, that twin boom layout, incidentally, was chosen so as to allow a shorter jet pipe and minimise the loss of thrust from the aircraft's single engine. That power plant developed by Frank Halford as the Halford H1, before becoming a de Havilland engine product as the Goblin. Adversaries then in close company to the Cold War. A very special formation indeed of the MiG-15 UTI and the two Vampires. So with that single formation pass, MiG now established on final approach. An aircraft that for many years it would have been unimaginable to think would land at this airfield, or indeed any Western aerodrome. Beautifully handled by Kenneth Orgvisla, founder and boss of the Norwegian Air Force Historical Squadron, the early post-war period. In 1948 they went to the aircraft service in the pure fighter. First of the Vampires now on final approach. That's the two-seat T-55 in the hands of someone it's lovely to see back at Duxford displaying here, Rolf Meum, former Royal Norwegian Air Force fighter pilot, and a very familiar face here for many years, flying for the old Flying Machine Company in particular. Took part in the filming of the James Bond film Tomorrow Never Dies, amongst others. He flew in a Mustang in the making of Memphis Belle here in 1989, and another Royal Norwegian Air Force fighter pilot of old, the ever cheerful Per Strommen, bringing in the FBs. Service 75 years ago, and famously was instrumental in locating the German battleship Bismarck in May of that year, after which Fleet Air Arm Swordfish played such a big role in finishing it off.